Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. I'm Othor Cain. Glad to have you aboard on this Tuesday evening, 8:05. A little late coming on tonight due to a couple of technical issues, but we are here. Glad to have you here. Today is was also election day, so we are awaiting results. A couple of runoff elections that took place across the metro today. Yemi Kings was in a runoff, and Judge Justice Jim Kitchens was in a runoff race. So hopefully before the end of the show tonight, we can get you those results. So I certainly hope you had an opportunity to get out and vote tonight. Also, want to remind you, so listen, before I say anything, let me just say to Dr. J, our producer, I was late to the party, right? Totally late to the party, and didn't realize she had gone through a house fire. Didn't realize that at all. And then I started seeing these posts, and folk were texting me, give me Dr. J's number and all of those good things. And so I was totally blind to that. And I apologize for that. So Dr. J, I asked her if she wanted to cancel the show tonight so that she could deal with her own personal situation. And of course, she said, absolutely not. We are going to do this. And so we are here. And so certainly, we appreciate you, Dr. J. We appreciate you more than you know. And folk, when we ask for support, part of that support tonight is certainly going to go to help Dr. J get those things that she needs. So feel free to share with us. Our Cash App information is there for you. It's $ Othor Cain. We appreciate any support. Dr. J works really hard to get this show on every Tuesday and Thursday, and she does an amazing job. And so certainly we would appreciate any support, and we'll make that plea before we get off air tonight. Listen, this show tonight is special to me. It's special to me for a lot of different reasons. I think one in particular is because justice was finally served. Secondly, it gives these brothers an opportunity to really tell their side of the story. They've been on a media tour, it seems like. They've been on the media circuit for a while now, really sharing their side. And I think that it is important to hear that side. I think most of you know that we've talked about the Anthony Fox situation for a very long time. And so it is with great honor tonight that we have both Anthony Fox and Desmond Barney here with us to really give us in detail through their lens, through their eyes, and their lived experiences what happened in this situation. So I want to bring them in and welcome them to the show tonight. Anthony Fox and Desmond Barney. What's up, brothers?
What's going on, brother?
What's going on? How you doing?
Man, all is well. All is well. So, I want to start here. Desmond, you do still owe me a cigar, so I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear that you're not off the hook.
I had you a Cuban today. I thought we was gonna meet up.
I am ready for it, man. I am absolutely ready for it. So again, thank you both for being here. Listen, man. I want to start in a different kind of way because I know you guys have told this story 50 million times. So I want to start in a totally different way because when I look at you two, right, I see family, I see brothers, I see partnerships, friendships that run deep, right? You guys have become like family. So kind of walk us through, how did the two of you meet?
Police Academy back in 2010. No,
2010.
It was 2010.
Well, we were in academy.
Yeah, we went through the academy together. I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was, but we started the Police Academy at JPD together, and we've been rocking since day one.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. So going through the academy, you build camaraderie, you get to know your teammates and all of that. And so you didn't know each other, but looking at the two of you now and then watching your posts and how your families, interacting, how y'all jank with each other. It's funny to me, man, because it seems like y'all have known each other since y'all were, like childhood. It seems like y'all were childhood friends, man.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Well, it go way beyond friendship at this point. It's my brother right here. I wouldn't hesitate to take one for him.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's good stuff. Listen, what brings us here tonight is the unfortunate situation of indictments and arrest and all those kinds of crazy, unnecessary things. But I think it's important to talk about that. And again, I want to go back just a little bit. If you had to think about being in this spot today, would you have ever dreamt this? Either one of you.
I mean, like in reference to now, or in reference to like the corruption type part of it.
Like before, like going through your law enforcement career.
Oh no, no.
Working on the opposite side of the law. Would you have ever thought that? You know, because there are some crooked cops out there, but would you have
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I never thought in a million years we would have been put in the situation that we were in. Never. Because we went through our whole career doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Never.
So I got to tell you, for me, I think my situation is a little bit different in terms of how I got connected to this case, and I think that I've shared this with y'all, and I know that I've shared it publicly, but I got connected through this case through Dennis Sweet, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I was actually a reporter at the Mississippi Link newspaper, an African American weekly in the city. I was the managing editor for the Mississippi Link newspaper. And and of course, routinely would get press releases about cases that they had and that they were working on, and often would get invited to Dennis's law firm to hear their side, when they're working on a case. And such was the case with this one. So, I get my reporter's notebook, pen ready, and I head to Dennis's office, and I get briefed, on this particular case. And then, probably not the same day, but shortly thereafter, I get called to a press conference at George Robinson's house, right? I get called to that press conference to come cover this press conference. And so at that point, I only had one side of the story, right? I just had Dennis Sweet's side of the story, and I get called to this press conference in front of this house, and I go, and still at that point just one side of the story. But it was at that press conference in front of that house that something clicked for me, right? I don't even remember at this point what was said that really made me say, wait, step back and look at things just a little bit differently. But something clicked for me at that press conference that made me start questioning, and that made me realize that something wasn't right. And it was from that point on that I knew that this was wrong. I knew that this was and I didn't know y'all from Adam or Eve, right?
Right, exactly.
But I knew that this was a grave injustice from that press conference. And so up until that point, I don't think that I had ever stood opposite of the Sweets. I don't think I had ever stood opposite of them until now. And when I tell you, it was definitely a grave mischaracter of justice. In a real sense, in a very real sense, man, the entire city could see through this, man, and they were rooting for y'all, right? Could see through all of this, and they were rooting for y'all. Take me to your encounter, take me to your encounter with Mr. Robinson. Start there. Take me to your encounter, because I know that you had gotten calls. I know you were at church, and you had gotten calls, and y'all had to meet up, and you were briefed, and all of those kinds of things. But take me to your encounter with Mr. Robinson. And Barney, I know that you advised to go scout, talk to people, spread out, and those kinds of things. But Fox, take me to your initial encounter with Mr. Robinson.
Okay. Well, when we pulled on the street, there were people everywhere out on the street, and Detective Barney came over the radio and he basically said, you know, let's stop and talk to these people here. So he exited his vehicle. He went one way. Detective Lampley was in my vehicle. He got out, exit another way. My primary focus was straight ahead of me. I saw a woman clutching money at the car. She stuck her hand inside the vehicle, money in hand, pulled her hand out of the car, still money in hand. So she began to walk off, and I was, you know, telling her basically, you know, stop. And, you know, she failed to obey basically, and she kept walking off. So at that time, I'm approaching the vehicle and I can see through the car because there's, you know, no tint on the windows. First thing I noticed is money spread out all through the front. There was money on the console, money in his lap, money on the passenger seat. So he turns and he looks at me as I approach, and he immediately turns and start reaching between the center console and the driver's seat. At that time, I'm giving them verbal commands outside of the car, like, you know, what are you reaching for? Stop reaching, things of that nature. Uh, Completely disregarded anything we were saying. That time I opened the door and I grabbed him like right here in the crease of his arm, and I'm basically telling him like, step out of the vehicle. What are you reaching for? At this time, he twists his whole body and turns, and with both hands, he sticks him in between the center console and the driver's seat. My profession, we know that's what weapons kept all day long. So at this point, I'm thinking now, all right, it done went from he trying to get some dope to he possibly got a firearm. So I guess everybody heard the commotion. Detective Lampley came over. He kind of nudged me forward, reached in and grabbed him here by the collar and ducked his head and pulled him outside of the vehicle. Once we're outside of the car, he's standing and he has his hands clutched here. I'm on the left side, Lincoln's on the right side. Barney hears the commotion, comes over to assist as well. Well, he's trying to get his body weight to the ground the entire time. Well, once he got out the car. So he does that. We got him down to the ground. At this time, he's laying flat. He's looking this way, and then he turns and make a half fetal position type movement and stuck his hand in his mouth. Stuck, and whatever was in his hand, he put it in his mouth, and then he stopped resisting. Once doing that, put the cuffs on him, stood him up. First thing he said was like, man, this killer fox, man, you know what I'm saying, man, my fault. It was a tab I swallowed. I just didn't want to go to jail. He stated that several times. I just didn't want to go to jail. It was a tab I swallowed. Uh, I didn't know who he was up until that point. And when I looked at him, I'm like, killer, man, you know, what's going on, bro? Why you do that? And then he just kept explaining that it was a tab I swallowed. I didn't want to go back to jail. He was already on probation, had an ankle monitor on, and that's not uncommon throughout our work for people to swallow drugs to try to get off of whatever they got going
Right,
on.
right.
So at that time, you know, when we stood him up, we noticed a small abrasion. When I say small, I mean it was equivalent to like a child falling off a bike and skinning his knee.
How did he
Minor.
get the? How did he get the abrasion? How did that happen?
When
How did he get that?
when he was laying on the ground, like I said, he was flat. He had his hands underneath him. When he reached over, he was like this, and then when he reached over, he came to a half fetal position, trying to get his hands to his mouth. Because both of us, myself, I was on the left side, Lincoln was on the right, and we were trying to like pull his hands apart and stop him from taking whatever that was in his hands. So once he turned to that half fetal position, he kind of rose up and put the drugs in his mouth. Once he put the drugs in his mouth, he completely stopped resisting. Completely. I mean, instantly. And you had officers that had flashlights that were looking at the whole encounter the whole time, and they were saying he trying to put something in his mouth. He trying to put it in his mouth, you know. And they also testified to that, but that went on deaf ear. So
Gotcha. And uh, Barney, you were off, talking to other people, yet you could hear Fox's commands. Tell me when and how you approached the vehicle.
Just as soon as he started giving commands, I heard. I actually was off to his towards the driver's side of the vehicle. I stopped two guys that was in the street. So once I heard him giving commands, I immediately turned to him. He was still in the car at that point. When I looked through the car and I can see him reaching down in between the seat and the center car. So basically the same as Fox saw, but you know, my idea was the same thing. If he's reaching down there, he's obviously not trying to hide something because we can't even see your hand. So whatever you're trying to hide would already be hidden. You know, we would think that you're trying to retrieve something, which at that point would have been a firearm or anything to harm us or somebody else. So, you know, the defensive techniques automatically kick in like an eye, you know, he's trying to harm us or harm somebody else or, you know, could possibly even harm himself, you know. So at that point we, you know, went to engage in that manner. Once they get him out of the car, they got him on both sides of the car. Not both of the car, both sides of his body, one on the right, one on the left. Me looking at him, I can tell he's trying to go to the ground. He's trying to actually get away from them. Like he's trying to, you know, release himself from them. So he was attempting to go to the ground. I saw this, it looked like they were trying to hold him up, keep him from going to the ground at the point. And eventually it looked like, you know, it just couldn't give them on. You got a, you know, over 200-pound guy, dead weight. I mean, everybody know what dead weight feels like. You're trying to constantly hold him up and a struggle at the same time. You know, you eventually give in. So eventually he went to the ground. As soon as he goes to the ground, that's when I go, you know, hands on with them. I'm trying to, you know, control his arm, look around and see what he got. I'm near the head area, near the top of the shoulder area, which is the crazy part, which was I testified, you know, from the beginning of it, that I was in the area where all this stuff was going on, and those two were in the back of it, where they were just basically trying to control his hand, you know. So I observed everything that happened with his head, and with them trying to hold his arm, he just couldn't get his hands up to his mouth at the time. And with him not getting his hands up to his mouth, he took his head down to his hands, which once he got his hand down to his head down to his hands, he was able to put something in his mouth. Obviously we all assumed what it was, but what him swallowing, you know, there's no reason to make, you know, too many accusations now what it could be. It don't serve a purpose, but whatever it was in his hand, he did put it in his mouth. Once he swallowed it, hey, it was over. You know, once we get him, you know, medical help, you know, we didn't consider anything else after that. You know, not until later on.
Got it. I guess I gotta ask this question. So both of y'all observed this small abrasion on his head. Both of y'all understood clearly and fully how it happened, how it got there. I guess I wonder what went through your mind when it was determined that this was a homicide, that he was killed, you know, it was labeled as a homicide. What went through your mind?
The first thing I said, something had to happen to him at that hotel. I said, because there's no way in the world that he had life-threatening injuries when we left. So the very first thing that came to mind was something happened to him at the hotel room, because we didn't do it. Everybody that was on scene saw him.
Yep.
And they, you know, everybody knew we didn't do it.
Right. And when the report came back and they said blunt force trauma to the head, what were you thinking?
I still think something happened at the hotel.
Well, I think that's where the big confusion come in. What blunt force trauma is. Like, if you hear blunt force trauma, you think somebody got hit with a baseball bat or something else. Blunt force trauma is only when somebody get hit with something that's not sharp.
That's right.
You know, only somebody gets struck with something not sharp. It doesn't have a certain impact. It just getting hit with something that's not sharp. You know, not a knife.
A thump on the head could be considered blunt force trauma.
That's a great point to lift up, because when we think blunt force trauma, we think right?
Right. Exactly.
It's aggressive force. That's exactly
right.
Yeah.
A minor thump on the head could be considered blunt force trauma.
Yeah, anything that's not sharp, you know, anything that's not a knife is considered a blunt force, blunt force trauma. So I think that's where a lot of people were confused at when they start hearing blunt force trauma. Like, okay, they kicked them, beat them, they did all this, but that's not what blunt force trauma is. There was a lot of medical terms that they just threw out there, which that's their job. You know, I don't blame him for doing the job, trying to win his clients' money. You know, that was his job. You know, now the people that was elected and put in positions and they took this and ran with it, I blame them for it.
I blame all of them.
Yeah, you know, that it wasn't their job to twist up a story. It's their job to find, you know, the true evidence and present it the way it is. not to twist up evidence and
And
present
there
it the
was a
way we
lot of
want.
twisting of evidence going
Oh yeah.
on in the situation, and we'll unpack some of that. But you bring up a good point, and it makes for a great segue when you talk about it wasn't these elected officials' responsibility to twist the facts and to muddy the water. I think it's important. I want to give both of you an opportunity to talk about this because there was a DA in office, Robert Schuler Smith, during this time, right? And
Yep.
then the DA's change, right?
Yes.
The office of the DA changed. Robert Schuler Smith did not advance this case at all.
Not at
He
all.
did not advance this case. And then shortly after Jody Owens took office, within his first year in office, here we are. What do you think the difference between what Robert Schuler, and I know you can't speak for either one of them, but hypothetically, if you could assume, what do you think the difference was between why Robert Schuler Smith said that there was nothing to advance, he was not going to advance this, and then within a year that Jody Owens is in office, boom, there you go, indictments and all. Talk to me.
Well, me personally, I think Robert Schuler Smith looked at the facts of the case. He probably got valuable input from the FBI. He probably got valuable input from JPD, Internal Affairs Division. Whatever the case was, he looked at the case and said that there's nothing to go forward with. There's nothing to prosecute. There's nothing to send to the grand jury because there was no crime committed. I feel like the current DA was asked to look at this case after shortly after he got put in that position, and I think the wrong people got in his ear, and he just took it and ran with it. It wasn't about getting justice. It was about I'm gonna do this because I was asked to do it by certain individuals, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
I got it. Barney, your thoughts?
I mean, and I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to chastise anybody for pushing this case. I
Right.
think they did right by pushing it. If they hear this from the street that we were, out assaulting an individual that did nothing yet, push this case and do all the investigation you can. Whatever you have to do. Because if that truly happened, then we want an investigation done because you don't want officers like that on the street. Because officers like that on the street make it bad for us, and that's why probably why we went through this situation because of bad officers that happened prior. But I think Robert Schuler Smith only investigating entities that done it, they investigate this case where they couldn't come up with nothing to say that we did anything wrong. Obviously you did have 3 witnesses in my case and 2 in his case that said, hey, that they slammed them, they kicked them. All the stories were different. All 3 witness stories were different. They wasn't consistent. They changed every time they got on the stand. They even changed every time they went into the courtroom. Every time they did a deposition, we had their stories changing 3 or 4 times. So when even Robert Schuler Smith, I mean, I don't know him well. We spoke to him during this, but with him saying that no investigational entity can say that they definitively did anything wrong other than their job, then they're I mean, that could have caused him not to want to push this case anywhere. Then you got another one that's, I hate to keep throwing this family matters type stuff in it, but you got somebody that's close to this person that say, hey, this case is bad, but not thinking, hey, this person here is he's benefiting from this case. If he don't win this case, he's obviously he's a wealthy man, but he wanted a little extra, but whatever. With him not winning this case, it's no good for him. So yeah, he has somebody in the ear that probably wanted to push this case, on the other side.
And it's important to know too that when we saw which way this was going, we requested that the FBI investigated. We requested them because we knew that there was a possibility that it was going to go left. They got in it, they investigated it, and they found that we did no wrongdoing.
Right. And I absolutely remember you saying that and that happening. Barney, I heard you say, I've watched a bunch of different clips, so now I don't even remember what I was watching. But I heard you say, I heard you talk about the role of the DA's office,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Acting as an outside entity to
Mm-hmm.
investigate. Can you kind of
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so with these cases here, when you have a law enforcement that's involved in any kind of, mostly you're gonna have, obviously officer involved shootings, but this time it wasn't officer involved shooting. It was an accusation of excessive use of force. So when you have that, you have to have an outside agency to investigate that. Normally it's going to be MBI, and MBI normally do they do the investigation, and then they turn it over to the grand jury, just as if we were to see not want to say a regular citizen, but if it was a non-law enforcement citizen and we take the case, we will investigate and we turn it over to the Hinds County to grand jury. Well, in this incident, they wanted to release our names, so MBI refused to do it. When MBI refused to do it, the DA took that role as the outside entity to do the investigation. Not just to receive information that what we have, or receive information that the FBI had, or receive information that Internal Affairs has, but they was going to do their own separate investigation, which we never saw one sheet of paper of it. Never saw. And you followed this. You didn't see anything on the screen that had any kind of
Not at all. Not at all.
not one sheet of paper that said that they did any investigation at
Right.
all. To matter of fact, I don't want to throw names out there, but it was in transcript, so they testified to it. Only person Ron Arnold said he talked to was Tyrone Lewis,
Mhm.
as an investigator. I don't know if he was law enforcement. I don't know who he was working for, but he wasn't with JPD, and I don't think he was working with the DA. So who investigated this? Was it a private law firm that investigated it? Was it the same one that was suing us at the time? That's the only thing I can get out of it.
Right, right. Well, I appreciate. I certainly do appreciate you saying that. Let's fast forward. The three of you were indicted. Um, Two separate judges. Barney, you and Lincoln, you have a trial under Judge Faye Peterson, the Honorable Judge Faye Peterson. Fox, I guess I want to know, before I continue with that question, Fox, I guess I want to know, were you at that trial every day?
No, I was advised by attorneys that I probably shouldn't go in there, but there were several times that I sat outside on the steps. I sat in the lobby area. I was around, but I couldn't physically go inside the courtroom.
But you were close enough to hear
Oh,
and
yeah.
understand what was happening in that courtroom.
Oh, absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right. All right. And now I want to, man, look, there's so much that I want to say, so I'm trying to, I'm trying to practice a little professionalism, because I really just want to cuss at this point, man. I'm trying to practice a little professionalism tonight. So Barney and Lincoln, you go through this, and ultimately, there were people thinking that you didn't really have a trial, that it was just dismissed, but you guys actually went to trial, right? I mean,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
went to trial. Talk about that experience, and then I want to talk about the difference between the two trials. Talk about your experience, Barney, going through that.
That's the actual first trial I went to as a personally went through a trial. So I guess that trial was different. I mean, it was some people didn't agree with the decision made in it, but when you go back and look at the stuff that happened in the trial, you had four witnesses that the state brought up, which was Connie Bolton. You had, I don't know his real name, Slime, and then you had Ronnie Arnold. Obviously Ronnie Arnold being the one that he was in jail at the time. Well, basically, it was two witnesses that was actually incarcerated at the time. One of them was the one that Fox locked up on federal charges. What Fox was involved in that case on federal charges. So obviously, you would understand that he has a vendetta to
Right.
really to get Fox.
Right.
At that point, because when you listen to him testify, he was trying to take me out the whole equation, like I wasn't even there. He was saying that I was talking to him, or I was by the mailbox. I was where he was at, away from the incident. his position where he kept putting himself was a way where he couldn't even see what happened. If you can imagine a car on a sidewalk and you getting somebody out of a car and they go straight to the ground, obviously they're going to be in between the front and the back door. He's saying that he was on the opposite side of the car, and you saw it through the window. It's not happening. You giving testimony that the guy here was partially on a tire and partially on the other side of the tire. You cannot see a tire if you're standing on the other side of a car. That's not possible.
I've never seen such poor witnesses before in my life. I mean, I've never seen that before.
But they constantly allowed it, and he was their best one.
Mhm.
And that was the crazy part. That was their best witness. You got one that, when he was, asked to describe it, he said that he was pulled out of a window. And then he said, when they questioned him about that, he said, well, I don't really remember. It was dark outside. At this point, why are you still on the stand? You're saying that you don't know what happened out there. And then you was asked to identify Fox out there, and you identified the ADA, which was
David Lindsay.
Yeah, David Lindsay,
Yeah, we all look alike, I guess.
But out of those witnesses, you got those giving it. You do have those witnesses giving a story, but then you also got the medical experts, which they say believe in science, huh? But so you got the medical experts saying that what they're saying couldn't go, it couldn't happen.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible, and it's all the medical experts. It's not one medical expert. It's not medical experts we're paying. This is all the medical experts. Even their medical experts saying that. They saying what I said. I didn't know I would say it was. Even LeVon was saying I didn't know this was what I was testifying to. I was given this information about this. I wasn't given this information, so I'm not testifying to this. I'm just saying that I'm saying it's a homicide, but I'm not saying that what they're saying is right. There's no way they could have did this. It's no way that he could have been slammed on his head. No way he could have hit his head on concrete with the medication he was on, with his age condition, and how they're describing it.
Got it. So you get to the end of your trial, and what was the verdict?
It was a directed verdict. So basically, what a directed verdict is, once they put their case on, we never got a chance to put our case on. Just like they said, you innocent until proven guilty. Once they put that case on, and they don't prove you guilty, then you're innocent, right? So that's what a directed verdict is. Once they put that case on, you got the right to ask for a directed verdict. You got the right for the judge to say whether it's enough information to continue this trial, or the information that was given, you cannot put those through a jury. It's not worth putting innocent people through a jury from what you presented, because you haven't even. It's not enough for those those defendants to be here. So that the judge decided that it wasn't enough evidence to to push it on to a jury. So we didn't get a chance to put ours on. It was given directed verdict and dismissed with I can't say
prejudice.
That P word. Yeah, so.
Dismissed with prejudice.
Yeah.
Dismissed with prejudice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And how does that make you feel? Like at the end, how did that make you feel?
Celebration.
I mean, for them, it was celebrate. It was celebrating. Me, I didn't celebrate. It wasn't a celebration for me because I knew Fox still had to go through this.
Correct.
So, and I can tell during my trial how they kept pointing him out. So now I never celebrated. Even if you look at me during the thing, it wasn't a happy moment for me yet.
Right.
And even more so, even after my verdict was given out, we had one of the ADAs that was telling my family and telling him, I don't know what you celebrating for. We still got you.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. So this is court, in the middle of the courtroom. That's how petty this trial was.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. So from that trial to you, Fox, what were you thinking at the end of Barney's trial? What were you thinking?
Oh, at the end of their trial, I'm like, congratulations, my brother. Y'all good. And honestly, I was expecting the same result. I really, truly was. There was a massive celebration. We all came together, and it was a happy time.
Right.
And the only thing I can say was, oh yeah, well, mine's coming up, and we finna get the same result. We finna get back to work. That's it.
Right. I got to tell you that I learned a lot during this process, right? So I learned a lot, and I've covered a lot of cases, but in this case, I learned a hell of a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how cases are assigned, how they go through the system. I learned, conversations that judges can have, about cases being split up. I wondered why all three of y'all were not tried together. Then I learned why all three of y'all were not
That's
tried
right.
together. So I learned a heck of a lot in this space. And so now it is your turn, Fox. It's your turn to face the music.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize that things were different for you and that the outcome may not be the same?
Okay. In my opinion, so the Honorable Judge Peterson basically said that she didn't want no parts of the Silver case in this criminal trial. She said that. She made that perfectly clear. During my trial, the first and only time I saw a certain attorney for the family inside of the courtroom was the first day the jurors walked in. That's the first and only time when I saw that, I told my attorneys right there, and I said, "Hey man, something going on. I'm in trouble." That was the first time. After that, it just things kept going on and on. Like the state requested that the cases be consolidated. That's where it really originated from. My concern is the state asked for this case to be consolidated. One incident, all indictments read exactly the same. Should have been one trial. Before the ADA could get out, consolidation, Judge Wooten said denied. I mean, just as blatant, denied.
Evil. That's my word. That's not your word. That's my word.
Hey,
we appreciate your word.
Well, and then certain things along the way just wasn't right. Like from my understanding, it was an intern that was inside the courtroom that would walk the family back and forth, and allegedly he's supposed to be like the nephew or something to the DA, or might be Dennis' son or something that was an intern, but working for Jody.
I don't think he know who he is.
But he was inside the courtroom the whole time.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Well, he was inside the courtroom, and several things happened inside that courtroom that when one of the witnesses was on the stand, mind you, one of the witnesses that they walked up and down the street every day, to and fro the courthouse to law firm. When she would get stuck on a question, my wife saw this intern giving head nod signals. And whichever way the head nod was, that's the way she answered. A bailiff at the time saw the exact same thing, but when both of them were brought before Wooten, he said something to that. Yeah, I saw the head movements, but I thought that he was falling asleep or something. So my wife testified before her that this man is telling her how to answer these questions when she gets stuck. And she basically said, okay, yeah, that I'm not saying you lying or anything like that, but this is what we'll do. We'll just move him to the other side of the courtroom so I could see him better. That's tampering. Yeah. That's tampering with a witness.
Yeah.
Man, I can.
Man, I saw so much, and I've covered so many trials. I've covered so many trials, but I saw so many inconsistencies, so many things that I thought, where's the decorum? Where's the integrity? Where's the respect for justice and the respect for law? It was absolutely ridiculous to me. It was ridiculous.
Othor, you had a juror that stood up in the middle of trial, and she said, "I no longer feel comfortable on this juror. I want off."
Wow.
And the only thing she could tell them was, "Well, I didn't see your face on the news or something like that right there. So no, we good. We're gonna continue." One of my attorneys stood up and said, Your Honor, I respectfully request a mistrial at this point. Mistrial?
Wow.
Denied.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life. My man Joseph Fox, I want to put his comment up.
Oh Lord. Tell him to behave.
Joe is in the house, man. Joe said Woot made all police officers leave the courtroom saying it was intimidation.
Yeah. Every law enforcement officer that came to support, they couldn't wear a badge. You had some officers, and what in my opinion, what was happening was that they were trying to get the support out of the way. So yeah, you can't come in my courtroom with a badge or a gun on. I mean, some people had pins on. They had to take them off. Some guys that all they had was their duty shirt. They had to go outside and flip it inside out and come back in with a backward shirt on.
Wow. And she wouldn't allow certain evidence, right?
Man, it's so much, brother.
It was bad. So we get to the end and you are found guilty.
Yep.
What was your first thought?
So when she took, in my opinion, when she took pride in reading guilty, I was immediately taken into custody, and I was ushered to the basement of the Hinds County jail downtown. I'm hearing all kind of chaos breaking loose inside the courtroom, and the only thing I can do, and oath of my right hand to my Lord and Savior right now, I looked up at that dirty ceiling in that jail, and I said, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you. And I kept that same faith throughout this whole process. I don't know what you're doing, God, but I trust you. That was my exact words.
I understand it, man. I understand it. And we now know exactly what it was doing. But Barney, I gotta ask you, when you heard guilty for your brother, what was your first thought?
You don't want to know my first thought.
I really do.
I mean, in that situation, I don't know. It was wrong. It shouldn't have been done. And I can take a guilty verdict, or something like, okay, a jury misheard this. I could take it when they could have saw it this way. It's hard to take it when you got only 2 of your witnesses can say that they believe he done something. Even the witness that you're calling up, like during my trial, I didn't call one witness up. My trial didn't have one witness, and only 2 witnesses out of the 10 or whatever so they called defending what they said, what the DA said. Like, there's only 2 witnesses that defended that. Like, so you bring these people up knowing that, okay, this doesn't go together. At the worst, it doesn't go together. Not the worst that they're innocent or guilty. At the worst, it doesn't go. It's not enough to say, hey, not just because it's us, but this some stuff that you worry that other people go through this. Because imagine people that can't afford these attorneys. Yes. We couldn't afford these attorneys,
PBA.
Yeah. So you imagine people that couldn't afford this and had to go through this same thing, and they obviously they offered plea deals like us, or like they did us, and it's so many people that just would have took this and hey, I'm gonna go home and take this deal. But trying to accept a guilty verdict after the way they did it is, that's difficult.
Just going to say you were mad as hell, weren't you?
Yeah. I didn't accept it. He accepted more than I accepted it. So, to be honest, he did and that's what people don't understand. Like, out of everybody that's around him, he's the most kind-hearted person. Like, most of the situation that we don't get in is because of him. It's like, let's wait. It's been several situations when people had hands on guns.
Yeah.
And he'll grab them before we even go, deadly forces on it. He put himself in the line of danger before he go deadly force. So
I stopped him from spraying George.
So in that situation there, my mindset, like, I'm thinking, hey, he finna grab him. I'm finna spray him. He stopped me then in that very situation. So the people that was there probably didn't take it as far because of him, because they know what his mind was. I mean, I can't say the same if he didn't want to, whatever. But I didn't accept it. I didn't accept the guilty plea. Just
I got
like
you.
that.
I want to put Anthony Heath's coming up, and Fox, I want to get you to respond to this. He says that same week I inbox Fox. The steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. Look where Fox is now, home.
My brother.
Fox, but it was a long time. You spent over 500 days in
552.
552 days in jail, man. Talk to me about the word endurance.
Man, I wouldn't even call it endurance, brother. I would call it blessed and highly favored. Simply because there were times where I was at my low, you know, and a million things running through my head, you know, and I'm like, let me pick that word up, and I give all credit. I want to say this. This is a God thing.
Yeah.
This ain't a man thing. This ain't no Wooten thing. This ain't no Sweet thing. This ain't no Jody thing. This ain't no none of that. This whole situation was a God thing. All right. Whatever purpose God has for me to allow me to go through that storm, he was with me throughout the whole entire time. And I guess endurance is a good word because I had to.
Because you couldn't have done it on your own.
I couldn't have. It was impossible to do it on my own.
Right.
I've had a lot of prayers. A lot of prayers were going up. And like I said, it was at times where I didn't know whether I was coming or going, man. That little dark, small room get lonely at times, man. And it give you a lot of time to think about a lot of things. And the only thing I can say was God had his hands on me throughout this whole process, and he still does to this day.
Absolutely. So you're there, man, and you're enduring. You're going through, all of this, but you had this incredible support system built around you, man. You were insulated, for real, brother. You were insulated, for real. But you get to a point where you started hearing rumblings, that the Attorney General, is thinking differently, right? That the Attorney General is thinking differently, outside of doing the trial and when all the evidence was coming forward, you had all of these experts that said these guys couldn't have done that. These guys are innocent. No way this could have happened the way they described it. Yet you still spent 552 days in jail. But then you start getting these rumblings that A.G. Finch was thinking differently and that there may be some movement. What were your thoughts?
So again, I'm gonna put honorable in front of her name because that wasn't a popular decision for her to do at the time, due to the climate where we were. But she operates, in my opinion, off of integrity. It took guts, it took integrity, it took just strong willpower to say, no, this is wrong, what was done to him, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to right this wrong. The medical testimony, it was a major factor in her decision to voice her opinion in my direction. I mean, you got experts people that actually put their hands on him that said there is no way possible.
Right.
I got to give big credit to the PBA, and if there's any law enforcement entity watching right now, if you ain't a part of PBA, you need to get there. You need to get there.
Now,
if
what's
it wasn't
PBA?
For Police Benevolent Association. So what it is we pay into it. We might pay $10, $12 every check. But if something like this happens, you got unlimited funds. They told my attorneys that this is wrong, and this came all the way from Atlanta. They said this is wrong what they're doing. Y'all have unlimited funds. Hire any medical experts, anything you need, we got you. No cap. So millions and millions upon millions.
Wow.
No cap.
Wow.
So but yeah, it was trial, brother. It was tough, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I get it. So she issued her opinion, right? She issued her opinion, and then it was in the hands of the appellate court.
Right.
And then the appellate court issued their opinion.
They did. It didn't go all. It wasn't a unanimous deal to overturn and render or whatnot. You had a few that decided to overturn but send it back to trial. I'm just so happy that the majority said no, this ain't going back to trial at all. We're done with this. So they overturned it, man, with prejudice.
Was it a 5-4?
We had one. Whoever that last one that pushed in favor, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, one of y'all said your finger was clean when you were cleaning the camera with that one, right?
That one.
But it's still more so a unanimous decision because none of them voted to say that the decision was right that they made.
Right.
The ones that didn't vote for it to be totally overturned said that it should just go back to trial.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a lot of errors made in trial and it should go back to trial. So it was nobody that looked at it and said, "Hey, he did this," or they got all the evidence right. Everybody, all the judges that looked at it did say that it should at least go back to trial.
Yeah,
at the very least, and it's. Obviously, it's going to be political when you're dealing with stuff like that. So,
Barney, you know what, man? I like you, man, because you're like a reporter. You try to be as objective as possible, right?
That's him. Argument. That is.
Barney tries to be as objective as possible. He wants to see everything for what it is, and that's really good, man. That's a good trait to have, and I think that's important, right? Even though it was 5-4. In a sense, it was still unanimous because nobody said he did. Nobody said he did.
Absolutely.
So when you got the news, Fox, that you were going to be a free man and that this case cannot be tried again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the first thing you did.
Man, I dropped to my knees immediately. I dropped to my knees and I started crying. I dropped to my knees and started crying. I'm man enough to say that to anybody, it don't matter. I dropped to my knees and I started crying. Uncontrollably crying. I'm talking about sobbing.
Rightfully so, brother. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. I would have cried the whole 552 damn days I was sitting out.
I got to about 200 of them.
and here we are, and this is why God allowed you to go through that because of where we are right now. Because this serves as a testimony for so many, right? For so many, this serves as a testimony. What do both of you say to people who would go through something like this?
If you know you innocent, ain't no plea deals. Make them work. Make them do their jobs. Just like I would want, make me do my job at the end of the day. But if you know that you are innocent with whatever you go through life, don't just give up because a deal might sound sweet. You fight it to the very end because I told them from the very beginning, I didn't do nothing wrong, so I'm not taking no plea. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking no plea. They started off with murder 2, no jail time guaranteed. Then they went to manslaughter, no jail time guaranteed. Aggravated assault, no jail time guaranteed. And when I said no to all of this, well, just think of a dream plea. Of course, no jail time.
Wow.
What I would say to anybody who goes through anything similar to what we had to, don't quit, don't give up, don't go the absolute wrong route like they were probably hoping I did. Wow. And you stick to your guns and you fight. You fight to the very end. You fight.
Absolutely. So what says the future lawyer or future journalist? What would you say? What would you say to the people?
I don't have them bunch of inspiring words like he do. I don't know. I just feel like if you see something, this kind of tell you know, like one thing that we always stood for while we was working is even if we saw it wrong, we stood up for it. You know, even other officers that was done wrong, you know, even what they don't know, sometimes we go to our superiors like, hey, man, y'all check on these officers, yeah, y'all do this, if, we see something, we first to give our opinion on, kind of don't look for no recognition when we do it. We can see stuff on the street and see officer do something wrong, and I'm the first one to say, as a detective, it was cases like, nah, it's nothing there. I know you want the case, but it's nothing there. So when I was with that, so I mean, if you got that kind of, I guess, position, if you see something like that, you kind of, just you believe it's right to stand, to stand up for it. Don't bow down just because the majority of it is telling you to go one way, or the popular belief is saying, hey, he's guilty because of what it looked like the popular belief wanted him to be not innocent at the time. But obviously from what he was such a good person, you got so many people around him and knowing him, and they was willing to look at the evidence. They might have even looked at the evidence of somebody else, so if you got the ability to stand up or for somebody else, just stay there and keep going with it.
Got it. So real quickly, I don't want to exhaust you. I do want to take y'all through just a rapid round of fire questions, just a little bit, and just to get your opinion on it. So let's just do a quick rapid round of fire questions, just a little bit. Barney, I'll start with you because I know we had an exchange on social media. This situation has caused you to look at political parties differently. Explain that.
Yeah. I was just talking. I always look at political parties different. I never been one sided. I vote both ways. But obviously this situation here, with it being obviously political, it was with us. First thing we see was George Soros. Not knowing the guy, but with our interpretation, us seeing, what he's funding. So it's like he's funding bad stuff. Could be funding something good over there in Germany, but what he funded here was bad. So
Right.
we have to look at what
He
we
supported
see.
District Attorney Jody Owens, right? He
Yeah,
put millions,
500,000.
yeah,
$500,000.
yeah. So we
Absolutely.
had, you had no, you got to look at what you see. But like I said, I vote both ways. It ain't. Nah, I ain't gonna vote against Trump.
Oh boy,
Don't cut me off though. Don't cut me off.
Okay, this
I
interview
did
is
too.
done. Thank y'all so much. It's done. It's over. It's done. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, so that's bourbon and a cigar now, brother. Your tab is going up. That's bourbon and a
we got
cigar.
to double that up then, because I
Your tab is going up.
sure.
But speaking of political parties, Fox, you had a lot of Republican support, man. When I tell you that I was at events and I heard and I was at an event and the police chief of Clinton was singing your praises and just saying all these amazing things, and then the mayor of Clinton singing your praise and saying all these amazing things. Talk to me about that support.
Man, they stood 10 toes down from day one, never wavered, never, not one time. I knew the mayor of Clinton just through passing, but we never sat down and had coffee or chit chat or anything like that. But when this happened and we came together, he said, Fox, we gonna be with you. Whatever you need from the Clinton Police Department, we are there. And that trickled on down to the chief, the captains, my supervisors. I mean, they have been 10 toes down from the very beginning. I can't speak their praises enough. And when we talk about like Republicans that have shown support, Othor, I when I tell you I never met over 90% of these people.
Wow.
So that speaks volumes within itself.
Absolutely.
I never saw Lynn Finch in person before. I never saw Mike Hurst in person before.
Right.
Bo Luck, none of these people.
Right.
And for them to come to the defense of me because they saw what was done, It was a whole lot of things that was unprecedented that
I
happened
agree.
in this case. The
I agree.
first.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
my
So,
praise to him.
brother, I know you don't rejoice in another man's
No,
downfall, right? I know you
no,
don't rejoice in another man's downfall,
I
but
don't.
I did hear
No.
you say you believed in karma.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Oh,
one of my mentors kind of got on me a little bit about that because it's the will of God. And I understand, that point of view of it. But yeah, yeah. I believe I truly believe that what you put out in the universe, it comes back. Whether you put out good, good come back. You put out bad come back. But I do want to make that understood that yeah, I don't play on nobody's downfall. They going through enough storms right now, but a lot of the stuff they caused on themselves. So do I have pity? No.
I get it. I totally
No.
get it. I
Karma.
totally get it. And you're human, brother. And that's it. You
That's
are
right.
human. Listen, guys, I want to take this opportunity to just thank y'all for being here tonight. Thank you for being so open and so candid, for sharing your stories. And I'll give you an opportunity to make a final thought. Barney will give you the first stab at making a final thought.
Hey man, he been giving you the first all night. I don't like that.
Hey, no problem.
You get the closing word, brother. You're the star. You get the closing word, brother.
Karma. That's gonna come back on you. It's gonna come back on you. I mean, I just
Margaret something is gonna come back, Fox.
I just appreciate all the support that he's been getting, going through this stuff, to keep him going and stuff like that. So, I mean, continue to support that people putting out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, Fox man, you've endured a lot, my brother. You have stood the test of time. I
Yes,
don't think I have witnessed a case like this before.
right.
And to see it come full circle, man.
Yes,
You
sir.
talk about you falling to your knees, crying and sobbing. I'm telling you, man, I think everybody praised God. I think everybody was rejoicing. I think everybody was celebrating. I don't even think you still fully realize how much support you really had, man. I mean, you
Right.
really did. I really came to know your mom and your dad. I feel like I'm that other son next to Barney,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Next
sir.
to Barney, man. We just appreciate you. So you, my brother, you take all the time you need for closing thoughts, man, and just speak from your heart.
All right. Well, I want to first give honor to God. I make sure I do that in everything that I do. Um, and I also want to send condolences to the family of Mr. Robinson and whatnot. I knew him personally, and that's another step that really has me bothered about this case. This ain't a stranger that I just met. I've known him. Um, what I would say, thanks to everybody. I mean, everybody that has supported not only me, but them because they went through a storm as well.
Right.
Our families suffered behind this whole ordeal. I was a football coach, little league. I got 63, 60 plus kids that look up to me as a role model, and to see my name and face plastered all on the news, it was disheartening. What I would say though is throughout life, never lose faith, never lose. That's where it all come from. That's where my strength came from. It came from that man upstairs. Um, just thanks to everybody that supported. Thanks to the winning smile too. They did that.
Yeah, they
Yeah, they
did.
put some veneers. Winning smile. Yeah. Uh,
Because y'all couldn't have them on the TV before they did that.
Hey, I'm gonna tell them to send me a check for that advertisement.
one thing I do want to speak to my law enforcement family. To my law enforcement family. It was a lot of people that left the DA office after this happened. A lot of people exit left. It was a lot of people that got out of law enforcement after they saw what was done. What I would say is keep your head on a swivel, watch your six, Keep them body cams activated, because if we had body cams when this went on, we would not be in this situation. I guarantee, because you got a bird's eye view of exactly what took place. If we had body cams, which we did, and they told us stop wearing them because it wasn't department issued, but our line is narcotics. We kicking indoors, we executing warrants, we doing all this. We had our own, and we was told to stop wearing them. And about a month later, this situation happened.
Mm.
So to my law enforcement family, just keep doing what you're doing. The citizens need us. We ain't gonna worry about all these corrupt officials that's doing whatever they doing. It's all about the citizens. I spent a total of almost 17 years in law enforcement, and it was always for the citizens. Like Barney said earlier, if I didn't think you did it, you were not going to jail. If I wasn't 100% sure you did the crime, you was not going to jail. And grace, I have been given grace, I don't know how many times. So yeah, I'm gonna give grace when grace is due. It's been a lot of people that would tell you, yeah, I was dead wrong, but I told him the truth, and guess what? He let me go. I sure did. Officers are blessed with a word we call discretion. We have discretion. Everybody don't deserve to go to jail. Everybody don't deserve a ticket. So just use common sense when you out there working, man, and keep fighting a good fight, and it start from above. And we do this job for the citizens, not money, because we don't get paid nothing.
Well, man, you get paid something. You went to Winning Smile. That's all I was saying.
But you know what? You know what they did it for Othor.
Out your mouth. You take that.
You know what they did it for Othor. You know how much money I paid for these veneers.
Don't air it. They gonna take them out. They gonna repo them.
You know how much money
they gonna repo that man's teeth.
You know, I'm gonna be real, because people need to know this. And it's been several occasions that has happened like this since I've been out. They came to me through somebody else that's real close, like my brother, is my brother, and said that they saw my story. They were following my story from the very beginning, and they wanted to do something.
That's awesome.
Do you know I didn't pay a dime, not one red cent.
They come to get them.
That's who God is, man.
Insurance paid, but I didn't have to come out the pocket for anything.
The two fares in route.
So, but
it's gonna be another case.
Hey, but brother, I say that to say this. It's been so many people, though, so many people that I've never met a day in my life that has been following and heard and saw, and they've been showing up.
That's the power of who God is, right? He gives us what we need, even when we don't know that we need it, man.
Absolutely.
Even when we don't know that we need it. Hey, brothers, thank y'all, man. I've got nothing but love for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get you that cigar too.
I'm waiting, man. Now, look, if it's not soon, it's gonna be another case. Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right, blessings to you. Hey, I thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man. What an incredible story, right? Those guys are absolutely amazing, right? I mean, I think we all we love it when a story has a happy ending, right? We love it when you can see God at the end of the story. And not even the end, but throughout the story. But at the end, you recognize that it was nobody but God, nobody but God. I've said a million times throughout this entire process that what happened was absolutely wrong, and there's some people that are going to pay, and not just the folk that are currently going through stuff, but there's some folk that are going to pay for those injustices. So thank you so much. Hey, Essie, good to see you here. But thank y'all so much for sharing. Listen, to keep interviews like this going and to keep this show going, please support us. Every little bit helps, right? Every little bit helps. So if you are inclined to donate to us, please do that. And in fact, a portion of what we raised tonight, we're going to give to our producer, Dr. J. And you can scan that code, that QR code there to give. You can give to our Cash App at $ Othor Cain. But everything that you give helps keep this show going, right? It helps keep this show going. So we got to support our own, right? And we got to support independent Black media, because can't nobody tell our stories like we can, right? Nobody can tell our stories like we can. So if you're inclined to give, we are grateful. $ Othor Cain. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And so we're going to take Thursday off because Thursday is Turkey Day. Thursday is a day of Thanksgiving. And hopefully next Tuesday, we will be back. Thank you, Mom Mary. Appreciate you. Although we got to know each other during this, but it has been a blessing of my life to get to know you and to get to know your family. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My man Joseph, brother, thank you for being plugged in tonight, man. Appreciate who you are. Appreciate how you stand up and represent for your family. So we appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night from all of us here at the Othor Cain Show. Be blessed.